Have you ever been hesitant about setting goals? Well, David and I have been there, and we have found different ways to overcome this. And today, David is going to tell you all about a totally different way to look at goals and how to set them in a new way. We want you to achieve everything that you want out of this year. So take a few minutes. Download the goal setting guide that we are giving to you at idkwtfpodcast.com or click the link in the show notes.
Listen today to this full episode so you can see the ultimate goal setting guide with David and Teresa, and it is going to be a wonderful time. We'll see you there.
If you want to join us and do this whole process with us, then please hop on Zoom with us on January 19th at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and we can do this whole process together.
Have you ever started something new and didn't finish it?
You were excited. You invested time and money.
You got stuck.
I'm Teresa Merrick.
And I'm David B.
And this is the podcast with two ADHD entrepreneurs, and we've been there.
And worked with hundreds of people in the exact same place.
The IDK WTF I Was Doing podcast will take you away from feelings of frustration and overwhelm.
And lead you to the clarity you need to take action and get shit done.
Listen today because it's important to admit that no one really knows
what the fuck they're doing.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the IDK WTF I Was Doing podcast. I'm David B.
And I'm Teresa Merrick. We are going to talk about goal setting today.
Right. Goal setting. And I'm happy to have all you action takers back here with us because this is going to be an informationally packed episode.
It is. David has so much knowledge about goal setting, and he has a whole different way of goal setting than I've done before. And I've done lots of different types of goal setting, and I love it. So I can't wait for you all to hear all the goodness David has to share with us.
And if you didn't hear our last episode, Teresa covered all of the best way to do some wonderful annual reflections. And I think between these two episodes, it's going to be just a wonderful resource you can come back to over and over again to really just do some strong strategic planning.
Yes, super useful to stick in your toolbox and pull it out whenever you need it. Both of them.
Yeah. And so what you can do, we have this all written down in a guide. If you go to idkwtfpodcast.com, you can get this totally free. And you can follow along with us as we do it. So go there super quick or go download it after you listen to this episode. And then you can always check this one back out again. Or if you join us on the 19th, we're going to be doing this in person to help you through any of it. So if you've gotten stuck or if it just felt like a lot, we'll just go through it all together. So
yes, absolutely. We can't wait to have you all live on the 19th of January, 2023. So if you're revisiting this later, it's okay. You can reach out to us and we'll help you anytime. But we would love to see you on January 19th if you're listening to this episode when it's current. Yay.
Cool.
Let's hear it. What are you going to tell us about goals? What kind of goals are we doing? Are they the SMART goals that you can just look up on the internet?
They are not SMART goals, which you so despise.
I don't know if I despise them so much as I have a hard time sticking to them. Thanks, ADHD.
Yeah. And like we talked about, the SMART goals are very neurotypical. And this, though it's written out in a way that's very structured, it feels a lot more intuitive to me. So once you do it, you might not remember the acronym or any of it, but it just sits and makes sense.
All right. Get your pens ready. Take some notes.
Absolutely. We're going to be doing something called warp speed goals. So WARP SPEED. So warp speed to get these goals done lickety split.
I like it because I've never heard of a warp speed goal.
Yeah. Nice acronym. And it was actually coined by a gentleman named Nick County, who is the author of a book called The 7-Minute Mindset. One of my personal mentors, really cool guy. He's got a cool accent. And he's an NLP coach, among other things. Cool. But he's really good at making acronyms, and I just think it's hilarious. But this is one I particularly like. So one of the big things about goals is we always set them, and for some reason we don't accomplish them, right? Or many of them go unaccomplished. And there's a lot of reasons goals don't get accomplished, and that's covered in the warp part of warp speed. And this is some internal reflection that you want to do. When setting a goal, you want to make sure that you're setting it intentionally. And when looking at maybe why goals haven't been accomplished, you might look at this and see, okay, which part of this warp is the reason that this goal didn't get accomplished? So the W in warp stands for worthy. So worthiness. Am I worthy of accomplishing this goal? And this is the biggest reason that most aren't, is because we really don't feel worthy of achieving this thing that we might want to achieve. And there's a lot of reasons for that, which is way deeper than we can go in this podcast episode. But if you're not sure why a goal isn't accomplished, 90% of the time it has something to do with a self-worth issue. And that's the first thing we always want to work on. So if there's no other reason you can see it didn't work, probably it's somewhere in here.
Yeah. All I can see is in like the animated movie Hercules, the little like demons that are with Hades going, "We're not worthy." I don't know why that's like in my head right now. But like really, I think that's a huge piece that a lot of us don't acknowledge as why we don't like complete a goal. It's totally like a huge thing in my past looking at that. So I love that this points it out, because that's something to work on for yourself that you can absolutely make headway in, is your own worthiness. Exactly. All of us need to keep building it. It's a muscle. You got to build it up. So
it can always be worked on, right? The A in warp speed stands for achievable. So do you currently have the skill set to achieve this goal, or do you need to go out and get more skills to get this goal done? Both are fine, but knowing where you stand and getting it done is always huge. So did I not get it done just because I'm not quite there yet? Or is it just, it's way far away, right?
Right. So if I want to be a brain surgeon, I got to go to med school. I got a lot of years in front of me, and I got to acknowledge that how long that would take. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
The R is responsibility. And this is one that I see probably the most often is, did you take full responsibility of that goal? Was it 100% yours, or were you waiting for someone else to do something before you could do your part of it? And generally speaking, if you take 100% full ownership of whatever needs to get done, it'll get done, even if you have to do someone else's part. And I think this is a huge thing that really lets a lot of stuff fail because of that lack of 100% of ownership. And it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And if you've ever heard take 100% responsibility, like sometimes that can feel overwhelming, but when you do it, it actually clears a lot of stuff up. I feel like it can clear some things out of your path. Because if you're like exactly waiting on someone, do I actually need them to do that? Can I do this myself? Is it really? And I think then it would go back to achievable, right? Well, if you really do have to wait on someone else, then it's, you might reevaluate what it is your exact goal is if you have to wait on somebody else's timeline. But I think probably most of the time, we don't actually have to wait for someone else.
Yeah. Or you can redelegate it, or find someone else to do that part, or do something else, or get it done less good yourself.
Yeah.
So it's just really cranking that out. And then the P is possible. And this one is, were there outside influences that got in the way of getting this goal done? Maybe there were things that didn't happen. So 2020, the world shut down. There was a lot of goals that could not get accomplished because they just were not possible at that point. This is the least common situation because there's almost always ways around it. But sometimes some of these goals are just not possible. In that case, maybe we need to reevaluate it or pick a different goal. So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it seems like the possible one is probably very unforeseen kind of circumstances that would be why a goal doesn't end up accomplished.
Exactly.
So that you could consider if there's anything that seems like it could get in the way, but also more just like a reflection of that. Yeah. COVID stopped me from something. Yeah, it's legit.
But again, that perfect situation, right? So 2 restaurants, same street. One got shut down because they didn't have any customers. Another one tore a hole in their wall and created a drive-through, right? So is it Is it that are you taking responsibility for getting that goal accomplished, right? There are generally ways around it, but sometimes it just isn't possible.
Yeah.
So the speed part of warp speed is more oriented around the goal itself, right? And how we frame the goal and how we look at the goals. And whenever writing down a goal, we always want to write it just so it's there and just so it's something we can refer back to. But the key is you do want to make it specific and succinct. So writing a goal in the way of saying,
I want to lose some weight
don't
this
know.
year.
Yeah. So instead of I want to lose some weight this year, just say I want to lose 10 pounds.
Right. So we want to be succinct. So we want to, and we want to be very specific. So not, I just want to lose some weight, because losing weight could mean 2 pounds. Losing weight could mean 100 pounds, depending on your personal health and your personal goals and your actions you take. Right. But then,
Or I want to feel better.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I want to feel better.
Which we all want to feel better.
Right. But what?
True.
Yeah. It's very vague. Right.
And actually, this also helps too, because sometimes there's a really complicated goal that we might want to reach. Like maybe I want to win a tournament, or like I had a friend who was building a boat. I want to build a boat. That's a huge goal. Maybe we can break it down and make it a little more specific. I want to get the trailer. I want to build the outline of my goal or outline of my boat. And then I want to get the lumber even more before that, right? So you can make these goals smaller and more specific and more succinct. The P, though, goes to positive present, which is exactly like you were saying with the goal of I want to lose 10 pounds, which is much more succinct than I would like to lose weight. But we want to put it in the positive present, which would be instead of I want to lose 10 pounds, you want to say I weigh a strong 180 pounds. And that's a positive statement.
So you would take whatever weight you're at that time. And if you're 190 pounds and you lose 10 pounds, then you're making it the weight that you want and in the positive present. So
stated in the present. Say, I weigh.
Got it.
So instead of I will weigh 180 pounds, you say right now I weigh 180 pounds and it is strong. Right?
Okay. Got it.
The first E in speed comes to evidence. This one I particularly like because so often people will say that's stupid or that can't happen or that couldn't, you can't do that. But has anyone in the world ever done this thing that you want to do? So I want to be a professional video game player. Are there professional video game players?
Yeah.
Yes, there absolutely are. So if it's been done, why not you? Like, especially in this world, we live in a world where you can do anything that you want to do. And the example I use so often is that there are people who get paid to eat food. That's their job. They just get paid to eat a lot of food. That's insane to me. Ridiculous.
Right. People, you can be whatever you want to be or do whatever you want to do. You can grow up and make money doing whatever you want to do. Or, I mean, obviously, like people have lost hundreds of pounds. So if you want to lose 20 or something, it's definitely, there's evidence in the world that shows that someone else has done it, which means you can do it too.
Exactly. So the second E is ecological. This one's a little more esoteric, but basic ecological is looking at the grand scheme of goodness in the world. So is the goal that you want, is it going to create more good for the world? Is it something that's going to impact the world in a positive way?
So if I said, I want to be an axe murderer, it probably wouldn't be a positive thing for the
probably
world.
Not.
All good. I don't want to be an axe murderer. Sounds gross, but okay.
I want to create the biggest Ponzi scheme that puts Bernie Madoff to shame.
No.
Probably don't. It's not the best choice.
Right. It's possible. You can do those things. Probably not adding value
it has been
to
done.
Your life or society, really.
And that's especially when you're doing such a powerful thing of doing your reflections, creating good goals. You want to really move the world in a positive direction. And especially as smaller entrepreneurs, we are the ones with the power. The more of us who make more money, we have the power to literally change the world. And that's my whole.
Well, and I think even if it's not a monetary goal, and I think sometimes we forget that our own happiness and our own positive impact, it's like that whole pay it forward train of thought where it's if you hold a door open for someone or if you're really polite to some stranger, if the guy at the grocery store makes me laugh, it increases the positivity and the good things that are happening in the world. So like you can never have too much of that. And I think it's good to keep your goals in a line, because also maybe you're like feeling negative about it. Like we've used weight. I think weight loss is like a lot of people set that as a personal goal. And frankly, I know I would like to, I call it releasing weight, because I have a lot of like my own body issues and stuff. And also I don't have a specific number, but that's why I'm looking at other goals that make me feel good, because it makes me feel negative to say I need to lose 10 pounds. It's stressful. I don't like it. I feel icky about it. But if I say I want to use 10-pound weights during my jazzercise class and have that strength, that's a strength goal. That's still, if I work to that, I'm probably going to lose some weight and gain some muscle, right? Like it's going to do things for my health. That's sort of what I take from this, is it's like you want it to be positive, but also like for yourself too.
You're absolutely right. That is exactly where you want these goals to be. Then the D in speed stands for dated. This is an interesting one because in the personal development world, seems to be like a huge debate on whether we should or should not date goals. And what I've learned is that whenever there are two opposing viewpoints in any field of thought, generally neither one is right. And
well, so what do you mean dated? Dated like out of date, or dated like a time frame? I guess
to put a date on it. So a date of completion. Like
like a time frame of sorts to say, I want this goal to be completed by X date.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
Some people say you should, some people say you shouldn't. Anytime two opposing viewpoints have a strong following for both, I say none of them are right. So do whichever one you want. If you want to put a date on it, do. If you don't want to put on a date on it, then don't.
It's interesting. It's very interesting, because I think for me, sometimes time puts pressure on in a really negative way. But also if I don't put any sort of time frame on it, sometimes then I won't do it because it's overwhelming or intimidating or whatever. And maybe I'm not feeling worthy. It's almost like I want to have a time frame, but I also think that whole like being gentle with yourself about it and not super rigid. Most things, they're going to happen faster or slower than you think they will.
Absolutely.
In my experience.
Exactly right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Like our sense of how quickly or how long something is going to take.
We're terrible at guessing these things. Absolutely.
We are. We are. Especially if we've never done them before. So I think this is a perfect spot to take a really quick little break, because David's going to show us how he does goal setting. And it's a really cool process. And I'm like I'm in the process. So I'm like excited to keep going.
We'll see you soon.
Have you ever started something new that you were really excited about and invested time or money into, but after doing it for a while, you reach a point and you just feel like, I have no idea what the F I'm doing?
There's that bubbling up of frustration because you're not quite as good as you thought you'd be, or it's nowhere near as easy as you expected. Then suddenly, a wave of guilt comes at the same time, and you don't really want to or feel like you can express this to anyone.
Having a dream you want to accomplish can be very sad and isolating. It's lonely because visionaries tend to see the world the way that it could be, instead of settling for the way the world currently is, like most people do.
We believe this so deeply that we wrote a book with the exact 4 steps to help.
This guide is designed to take you out of that feeling of frustration and overwhelm and lead you into the calmness and clarity that you need to reach the life that you know in your heart you're destined to have.
If you've started a project or a goal but have stopped, gotten stuck, or are starting to feel burned out, this is 100% the book for you.
Go to idkwtfpodcast.com today and download your digital copy with the coupon code ACTION to get it on us, because we want to join you and be your supportive friends and partners throughout your journey.
It's only free for a limited time if you use the code ACTION by going to our website, idkwtfpodcast.com.
Check it out today and let's get unstuck together. I'm so excited. So excited. David, I want to hear how you do your goal setting. I want you to share with everybody, because it's totally different, totally new, and I'm having really fun in the process. So please tell us how you set your goals.
So we just covered kind of the framework of a goal, but at this point, you don't necessarily have to worry about that. So the step one of like my goal setting process is to just do a brain dump, right? So what I do is I want 100 goals written out, right?
100
things, 100. And it feels like a lot. And it's interesting, actually, because I had one friend say, like, writing down 100 goals, it's super easy. There's all kinds of stuff I want to do every year. I was like, okay, go ahead and write it down. And then he made some excuse and he was like, well, blah, 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 blah. Right. So maybe some people feel like it sounds really easy. Some people feel like it sounds overwhelming, but the key is to try. And the reason for 100 is because it is a lot, but we know intrinsically that there is more than 100 things we want to do every year, right? It's not like we don't have all the stuff we need to do, but it's hard to think about it when we're writing it down and trying to visualize the future.
Well, and so this could be like really big things and small things.
Exactly. And especially for those who have really been conditioned to play small and to not express their needs and to usually put other people's needs before their own. It's hard for them to sit down and write out the stuff for themselves. Exactly.
I'm pointing at myself. If you're not watching the video, I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm a 2 Enneagram. I do all the stuff for all the other people. So yeah, this is definitely challenging. I think I wrote down like 35 things more quickly. Like I had to push a little bit. Like I wrote 10 things really easy and then got to 35 and was like, I'm only at 35.
Yeah.
I'm at 50 now though.
And it's the perfect exercise to get into the habit of that expansive thinking. And so again, just like you said, some of these are small goals, some are big goals. Some can be for not necessarily just the year, but for over the next few years, right? It doesn't have to be just this year. Because again, like Tony Robbins says, we overestimate what we'll do in a year and then underestimate what we can do in 10.
Yeah, that's so, just like we were talking about, we suck at figuring out time categories. We're bad at it.
Yeah. So step number 1, write 100 things down. And I always start with goal number 1 is to finish this list. Finish getting 100 items down that I want to do over the next year or a few years.
What happens if you get stuck? What if you're like on 20 and you're like, I don't know, and you're at a loss? Because all the things that are on the top that are easy to, like, the thing you want quickly, they're gone.
Exactly.
How do you jog your memory, David?
Perfect question. Thank you. So on the downloadable guide that we have that you can get from idkwtfpodcast.com, I break everything into 4 categories. So I have health, which includes physical, mental, and spiritual health. So that'd be like reading books, yoga, meditation. The category of wealth, which is career or anything entrepreneurial, anything that makes money, side hustles, anything like that. Even social media, I include in that. Then there's the category of social or experiential, which is basically anything that includes friends, family, travel, anything like that, or dating, vacations, like family goals, events, meetups. And then the category of material. And I list that as anything that costs time and money. So whether it's a new car, maybe a new puppy, like things that you need, a new oil change for the car or water filter, something like that, right?
A new washing machine, a new deck, a yard redone. Sorry, just a couple things.
Exactly.
My house needs lots of fun stuff.
Yeah. And so as you're going through, you'll get stuck and then maybe switch to a different category. And then it's easy to like maybe list off a few more things in a new category.
Okay. Yeah. Jog your memory for other things that matter to you.
Exactly. So get 100 things down or as many as you want or as many as you're able to get. This is where kind of those warp speed goals come into play. And the key here really is writing it into the positive present. So like we said, again, instead of saying I want to lose 10 pounds, you write it as I weigh a strong 180 pounds. Or if it's like something you want to get, instead of getting a planner, you say, hey, I have a planner.
Okay. So question for you. What if I don't finish my 100? What if I'm not quite there? What if I'm hanging out at, like I just added one because I thought of one. But if you guys who are watching see me like I'm adding to my list because we're doing this.
Yeah.
But so say I'm not quite at 100. Should I wait till I get to 100?
No, I would absolutely just get as far as you can.
Okay.
And
then I can keep adding. It's like a working list, maybe, if I can't quite get to 100. I mean, frankly, if you get to 100, I guess there's nothing stopping you from putting more.
Sure, but more. And actually, as I was looking this up to rewrite this, right, I found my original document. And I started doing this in 2007.
Oh, wow.
And and it took me until 2011 to actually get 100 items on my list. So
Oh,
it took 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It took me 5 years to actually get 100 goals. So
I think you probably could have got it sooner than that.
no, I did it every year and I was really actively working on it.
Oh, okay. So
I came from such a closed mindset
okay.
that I really had to shift and change and
Yeah.
work.
No, that's really good to know.
Yeah. Get as many as you can. And then I start organizing it. So then, rewrite everything. And that's another thing to do. Just when you are stuck, then just start rewriting what you have. Right. I personally like to do this on a computer. I know a lot of people really like to just handwrite stuff. Exactly.
I'm like,
I
can't really see because the way the sun is hitting. I'm like, I got a page and a half going here. I like to handwrite things.
So we rewrite it in the positive present. And then the next step is to really organize it in order. I assign it a number between 1 and 4. And the reason for these numbers is because what we're going to do is put it in order, and then we're going to make the timeline order out of this goals list. And so the number 1 to 4 can be broken down into number 1, which would be urgent and important, something you can do right away, or something that's just really easy that you want to do immediately. Like whether it's sign up for dance classes was one of mine, right? So, which I still haven't done, which is ridiculous.
And you have to come to a jazzercise class with me too.
Yeah, exactly. So that one is just super easy. All I have to do is make a phone call. And so that could be a number 1. The 2, it's urgent and not important.
An oil change, or if you need a new washing machine because yours is broken, or you're like,
there you go.
It's not really important to me because I'm like, it's not like exciting or fun, but like it is pretty urgent that I get my oil changed. So I have a question for you. How does an oil change fits on your goal sheet?
I put it on because again, like, especially for me with my ADHD brain and stuff, I'll forget. And I have a diesel. So it's like, I don't need oil changes that often. So it's something that just completely like slips out of my mind, but it's something that needs to be done, and something that's like keeping a healthy car is important. Like just maintaining stuff in my life is important.
Yeah. Keeping a healthy car. I love how you used your theme of the year, health. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, listen to the episode before this one about reflecting and your theme or your word of the year. Yeah, keeping a healthy car. Okay, awesome. Yeah. I love that. Sometimes I wouldn't necessarily think about it as a goal, but yeah, sometimes making those calls or setting up those like mundane appointments, it's like I'm really proud of myself when I actually like get it done the way that it needs to. So
exactly. Yeah, so little stuff like that can absolutely go on the sheet. So 3s would be like not urgent, but they are important. So I guess for me, that'd be like an oil change or getting a new summer outfit, or I don't know if that's super important.
Well, it was like last spring, I was going on vacation to Florida and I gained a lot of weight during COVID, and I didn't have any like warm weather clothes that really fit me very well. And I was actually feeling bad about myself. And instead I went, okay, guess what? I'm going to go shopping. And I bought myself some shorts that fit. I bought a handful of shirts that I liked the way they looked on me.
Yeah.
And while it wasn't like, I didn't go for a fun reason because I wasn't happy that I had gained weight, it was important to do so that I would feel good during my vacation. And I'm glad I did.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Perfect. You said that very eloquent.
Happy to help.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. And 4 would be not urgent, not important. And it can also be, so that's just a rough guideline. I actually do it more in a way of this, I think I can get done sooner, and this, I think I'm going to get done later. So 1 is get a new Tesla, right? And so that's a number 4 for me because it's important to me, but I don't think it's going to be right away. So I've got that as a number 4 as well.
Okay. Well, so does that mean when you have number 4, does that mean you would put it out because you're dating this stuff, right? Eventually. I know you're getting to it.
Eventually.
But so say you think maybe you can do it this year, but it'll be maybe November, December before you can really look at it or something, right? I don't know.
That is like a 3. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so that's like a 3. So a 4 is something that you think maybe you might not even be able to accomplish this year.
Right. Yeah. And just feel it. I mean, if it feels like a 3, put a 3. If it feels like a 4, put a 4. I don't have a hard guideline on it. Put your first instinct on it.
Okay.
Like it shouldn't take more than half a second to write a number next to it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then if you like, you're stuck for a second, skip it, move on to the next one, and then come back. And you're like, okay, that is And it can change, obviously, too.
Okay.
Yeah. Makes
Okay.
sense?
Yep.
So, and this is why I like putting it in an Excel file, because again, then I can change the numbers and everything easier. But then we want to do the sort feature, which is sort by. And then you sort all the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s together. And the Excel does that really easy, or you can just rewrite it onto a new piece of paper.
Okay.
Right? And then, so after that, you've got this list that's like all of the things that you want to do in a priority order. And then it makes it really easy to just go next to it and put an estimated month of when you feel like you can get it done.
Well, okay. So I have a question. So if I'm like, we'll go back to the weight example because I feel like it's super linear and people understand how that works. I understand how that works. So if I'm like, I'm going to lose 30 pounds, right? That's probably not going to happen by March. I mean,
Right.
maybe it could in an unhealthy way, but if I'm being good to the world and having it be like positive influence in my life, then I'm going to do it the proper way and the healthy way. Then it might take me 6 months. But if I don't start working on it until June, then I won't have it till December. So does that mean I should like put it on my January list because I'm starting to work on it now? Or how do you do that?
So what I like to do is that example can be multiple goals. If I want to lose 30 pounds, which we would restate to say, I want to weigh 180 pounds, right?
Right.
Or let's say 150 pounds.
Right. Whatever.
You can put multiple goals to say, if I currently weigh 180 and I want to weigh 150. You can say one goal can be I weigh 170. One goal can be I weigh 160. And then one goal can be I weigh 150. And you put that in the respective timelines.
Okay, great. So it's breaking it down. You're still focused on it sooner and it's in your goals, but it's chunked down to reasonable amounts to do it in a proper time or whatever.
But also within that, you can say, I have a goal of I worked out 15 times, right? So that's a goal. So and whenever you're working out, you just put like a little check mark next to it. And you can also have a goal of I can lift, like you said earlier, 10-pound weights in my jazzercise, right? And so once you hit that, you get to check that off. So losing 30 pounds, or if you don't have a gym membership, you say, I started at Planet Fitness. There's a lot of goals that can be within losing 30 pounds.
Okay. So also we could
different
probably look at our 100 list and go, what of these is, once we rank them, it's like, what of these is important? And it's okay, what is going to take me longer? And can I chunk it down into smaller, more manageable sizes and make that like doable so that I actually can hit this goal by whenever, by the end of the year or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And especially so that way, if the 30 pounds aren't lost, you can still see the measurable progress that you did to get better in the process of getting there. Right.
Right. Because if you've lost 18 pounds, like you got a gym membership and you're not eating out, like, or whatever, however you're.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like
one of mine is cook X amount of meals at home every week.
Oh, that's really good. So yeah, so instead of doing it, and this is something that I think is valuable, and I was asking David because like one of mine is like to journal. I said, oh, I want to journal 1 or 2 times a week. And instead of saying it like I journal 1 or 2 times, you said to do it like, right, I've journaled 5 times.
10 times or 5
10 times, whatever, and then set a goal because there's a little less pressure than I have to do it every week, but it still got you there. Okay, if I'm going to get to 15 times by the end of March, I've got to start putting those little check marks next to it. Or whatever.
Exactly. And then as you look at it, which is coming up, right? Then there's that kind of pressure like, oh, shoot, I've only journaled 3 times. I need to do this so I can hit that. Right.
Right.
So we've got a kind of a month assigned to it now, right?
Yeah.
And so we've got the timeline and we've got the months towards each goal. And then really the key is just put it somewhere where you can look at it all the time. So after I filled it out as an Excel sheet, I like to actually print it out and keep it in a physical planner, which is lame because in the last couple of years, I've stopped keeping a physical planner with me. So I've moved it into a Google Sheet so I can have it on my phone now wherever I go.
But there is something tactile about adding little like check marks. It makes my dopamine very happy. It gives me a little hit.
I totally agree.
I'm very a handwritten person. So, okay. But I mean, honestly, checking it off virtually too, and eventually like crossing that off or like changing the color in an Excel spreadsheet to completed, something that like makes you happy visually or makes you feel like, yeah, then you can look down and see all the ones that are green or all the ones that are yellow because they're in process or whatever. I'm very visual. So like that kind of thing might make me happy in a spreadsheet. So
yeah. And then the other thing you'll find, because again, I do recommend review it every so often, every few months, definitely at the end of each. But what you'll find is that like a lot of the goals that you wrote down at the beginning of the year many things will become obsolete. Like, for example, you might say, I want to get a promotion at work, but then you go get a new job.
mm-hmm.
And instead of saying get a promotion, say, I want to be the new director of whatever, that becomes obsolete because you no longer work there. I say count that as a completed goal because you've moved on to something else. Right?
Yeah. It's not, because you otherwise it's hanging out there and you would never complete it. And it sort of goes back to being complete with that goal and being like, okay, like I'm no longer at that place. I do not want to be the director of whatever at this company anymore. So check. Done, because I'm on to something even better.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta love checking off those. I love checking off stuff, getting it done.
Me too.
If I did something I wasn't supposed to do, but I'm like, oh yeah, I should have had this on my list, I will add it so I can like check that I did it.
And absolutely do that too, right? So you add stuff all year, take stuff off. It's a rewarding process, I've found personally.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna try and be better. I always say I want to do like quarterly. Maybe that could be one of my goals is like to do a quarterly reflection and goal evaluation. I should write that down.
There you go. Boom.
I think also that'll be really neat to look back at the end of the year and see what have I accomplished, what's maybe obsolete now, what else did I do that maybe wasn't on this list, but like I see how it all connects. That's fun. I love that kind of stuff. So that'll be
fun looking back a few years to see what was I thinking a few years ago. And so it's a fun journey to watch.
Yeah, I was going to say, but it was really neat looking back at 2007, 2008. Like what were your goals and thoughts and needs and wants at that time? Yeah. Awesome.
That's my goal setting process.
Oh my gosh.
But again, we're doing it together in person on the 19th.
Yes.
So I highly recommend come doing it with us.
Yes, on the 19th, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, we will have all the links. We will be sharing the links in our Facebook group and on social media. So keep your eyeballs out for them. And we can't wait to do it with you. Also, like, we'd love to hear any of your goal setting tips. If you have anything to add or any questions or clarifications, like definitely reach out. Like we just want you to utilize this that will make a difference for your life. And just remember, if you don't get to 100, it's totally okay. Start with what you have and work from there. And if you really are stuck at 20 or 25, start there.
Absolutely.
There. Start where you are.
Definitely.
Because the fact that you're taking action at all says a lot about you. So you're badass. You're taking action. You're taking steps to create the life that you want and make things happen. And everybody's got to start somewhere.
And we think that's pretty darn cool.
Thank you guys so much for joining in. Happy New Year. Happy goal setting, which I never thought those would be words I would say.
Happy goal setting. Thanks again, everyone.
Yeah, we will see you very soon.
Thank you for listening. This has been the conclusion of our 2-part series.
And hey, congrats for making it here.
If you didn't happen to catch part 1, just go back to the previous episode to get the full story.
It was a really good one.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, please consider liking, subscribing, and or reviewing us on wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Also, if there's someone you know who clearly doesn't know what the fuck they're doing and would benefit from this topic, please hit that share button and send them this episode.
Let's normalize the feeling of uncertainty.
Asking for help and admitting that we don't know
what the fuck we're doing either.